Hello, I am Narottam Bosnet. My unique ID is 20418684. I am here to describe the demo video of CSY3021 wireless and advanced network technologies. This is the logical diagram of London cluster and Northampton cluster, where these different organizations are connected through the help of ISP. This ISP is configured with BGP routing protocol, inter-autonomous system protocol, whereas intra-autonomous protocol is used inside London and Northampton. London organization gets public IP 148.143.18.44, whereas Northampton gets the public IP of 142.9.85.44. Northampton relies on autonomous system 120, whereas London resides on autonomous system 110. GRE tunneling was configured between these two buildings in order to have secure connection. Here there are different other PCs which can be connected through VPN to access the internet network of London and Northampton. Here there are two servers, Facebook and YouTube servers outside the ISP. So let's go inside the London cluster. Inside this London cluster, there are edge router, ASA firewall, and DMZ zone area. This DMZ zone is configured with both private and public IP, so that it can be accessed through outside the network and inside the network differently on the basis of this firewall configuration and its allowness. This is the ASA connector, which is connected through ASA and core router. We have followed Cisco 3-layer hierarchical architecture, where these two router relies on core router, and these are the distribution routers. Distribution switches. These switches can be configured as switch as well as router. This is the SS layer network, where there is SS VLAN. We have configured IP phone through the help of this VoIP router. This VoIP router should be configured as voice VLAN, and voice VLAN is configured as 16. You can see if we hover around the IP phone, we can see the IP address as well as their numbers. In the distribution layer of this switch, we have configured different VLAN configuration. This switch is made as a BTP mode server, and while other are the client for this BTP domain London 10, so that we don't need to create VLAN in each layer of switches. This is the local servers. This local server can be accessed through this SS layer devices in devices. At first let us see the command which is run to configure IP phone. Here we can see, so run and configure. By this command we can look the command configuration in order to configure our VoIP IP phone. This is the telephone services which can be activated only to 2811 routers. In this way we can configure IP phone. If we dial number between two departments, we can get the phone call between these two telephone services. Let us see these numbers and let us call from this number. So phone is ringing, it means it is successfully connecting between each other. These in devices are getting IP address from DHCP server. Let us see the IP configured in these devices. So looking at this area, it is configuring DHCP and it's getting DNS server as well. And in this local server area, we have configured DNS server and DHCP server. Let us see the IP address of DNS server and its services. So there are two domain name services recorded on DNS servers. It should be ping from PC. So let us ping from this PC, so that we can see DNS server is working or not. So it might getting time. In order to resolve the hostname into IP address, let us go into another. Let us see the running command which is configured in the distribution layer of switch. So there is the DHCP pool which is configured in order to assign default IP address of different VLAN. In this way, it is configured as no switch port, where it can be configured as router IP addresses. In this switch, we have configured routing protocol as well. You can see there is the routing protocol which is configured inside this network. In this London topology, we have configured routing protocol as AIGRP in order to communicate between different devices outside of London cluster. So here we can see the AIGRP configured in this router. We have configured different firewall configuration in order to block access devices from this area to another area. We can see it as this command. This command has been configured in order to block unwanted unauthorized computer to access our server. Okay, here is the configuration on the basis of access list we have configured here. This is this can be explained pinging different devices, which I am going to do right now. So here you can see that this domain name is resolved into IP addresses. It means our domain server is working good. Let us ping this switch, ping from this switch to this router. So it is getting ping failed because of this firewall. Now here we have this S firewall where netting is configured. Netting is configured because in order to resolve this private IP into public IP addresses. Let's go inside the Northampton cluster. This is the cluster where there are 3 buildings. This buildings is this is the configuration of sub building where AIGRP is configured, and in this region OSPF is configured. We can see as running command. In this command you can see there is only OSPF configured, and in this area let us configure one router. In this router only AIGRP is configured, no OSPF. So in order to communicate between these two different departments, we have to redistribute this route optimization. This can be done as here in this redistribution router. We have redistributed our AIGRP network into OSPF, whereas OSPF into AIGRP, in order to communicate between two departments. It can be done as, let us communicate this building to this building. Let us ping from this building to this building. pings will be successful. Okay, we can see the IP address getting from the here DHCP addresses. Thank you.